Welcome to Adding Fuel to the Hire, a podcast for hiring managers and job seekers across all types of dealerships. With over 20 years collective recruitment experience, Rowan, Tony and Phil draw upon their knowledge to help you navigate through the recruitment and job hunt process. For more information, head to our website, addingfueltothehire.com.
Alrighty, it's Phil here. I've got Rowan with me. Welcome to episode 3 of Adding Fuel to the Hire. Today we're going to talk about sales. Now, Sales is traditionally not my background. I'm usually in the service department side of things. That being said, I have dabbled in it here and there a little bit. And I think start of 2019, we were looking at the database as a whole. And I remember I was looking at the sales department and it was very small.
It was.
And we thought, we should probably do something here.
Yeah.
So we put a little bit more effort into it and it exploded.
Yeah, we got heaps of salespeople on the books now. Yeah. It's definitely grown. It's been a position that I'd say probably 3-4 years ago was just as hard to find a good salesperson as it was to find a technician. To the point where sometimes we just wouldn't even take them on because we wouldn't been able to fill it. But now we've got a good database there of candidates, and I've kind of taken the sales department under my wing, and that's sort of what I've worked on because I enjoy it, and and I think we've brought in some good candidates. So.
Yeah. I think if you've never recruited for a sales department role, watching Rowan recruit for it is very impressive because sales, a lot of the sales consultants, they love to call off the ad and just get a bit of an idea of, what are they getting themselves into,
Definitely love a chat.
They love a chat.
Which is
so
good.
Rowan's phone is usually ringing off the hook during those times, which is fun to watch for me because my phone doesn't usually do that with the service department.
But I guess look at the sales. Yeah, it's a role. It's there's so many different sales roles across different industries. But selling a piece of machinery or a truck or something like that, it's different. And it has its challenges still. Just because we've got quite a few more people in our books now than we did before doesn't mean it's just a walk in the park.
Doesn't mean it's easy yet.
It's still you still got to find that person who's the right fit.
Yeah,
so
that's right.
And I guess why don't we start? We'll give a bit of background about where rates and salaries are at the moment.
Because look, everyone loves to talk about they're here because they love the role and that sort of thing, and that is definitely true, and that's got to be it's got to be part of it. But particularly for sales, you need that drive. And a lot of those sales guys, they want targets and they want certain things. There's certain commission structures and that sort of thing that are more favourable. So talk us a little bit through that because I know you've seen quite a lot of different approaches to that.
Yeah. Look, whilst most roles sort of are very similar in the salary package, some differ and they offer different things. And that can be good and not so good, just depending on the location. But I guess we could probably separate it out by industry, but also the area. So, metro roles, obviously there are a lot more candidates in those regions. So, sometimes the salaries are different to regional areas. So the bases may not be as high. And as a result, commissions may be easier to get though, because there's a bigger market. Yeah. So it sort of all offsets each other. We don't see a lot of agricultural sales roles come up in metro areas, on the fringes maybe, but they're more lifestyle roles. So in terms of truck sales roles, you're probably looking around that sort of 55, 65K as a base salary, plus super.
Yep.
And then commission structure on top of that, which is usually around about 10% of the gross in the truck that you sell.
Yep.
But some dealers do offer other incentives. So there might be, if they were to sell a certain amount in the month, they might get more. So it does vary, but as a base sort of, I guess, part to work off, that's what I would say. So it'd be around that sort of 55, 60, 65. Depending on, how many people you think there are in the market. So.
Yeah. I think what I've started to see, and maybe you can explain this a little bit because I'm not great on this and how this works, is the guaranteed commission. Because I know a lot of sales is about building up your customer base and it just takes a while to get going.
Yeah, definitely. And with particularly with I've seen it more in agriculture. But some truck dealers do it as well. They will prepay a commission, maybe even for the first 12 months. So, so the dealer may pay a base of 60K, but they will also pay you a guaranteed commission of another 10,000 per annum split over your normal paycheck. And your sales that you make, the first lot of commissions that you earn from that go back to paying off that prepayment. So, and then anything above that, you'll earn your normal commission. So I think, that can be a good way of building up your pipeline because it does take a while to get those, to get the equipment or truck delivered. It could be months.
That's the other thing. Yeah. And if you don't get your commission until after the money's receipted, they might order a truck. You then have to actually make the order. It takes 2 months to get here.
That's right.
Then it has to go through pre-delivery. Then it gets delivered. Then it might be a 4-week invoice term. Then they're 2 weeks late.
Yeah.
Half a year's passed by the time you actually get.
That's right. And if you're a good salesperson and you're working at another dealership, you're already earning commission from that pipeline.
Correct.
So if you've got to jump ship, it's a big thing to just reset all of that. So
right.
I think it can be good to have that guaranteed commission there in place.
Yeah.
In terms of regional areas and market rates, look, in terms of agriculture, for example, we're sort of seeing it around that 55, 65 as well as a base. We don't see a lot of roles paying less than that in terms of sales. Automotive dealers will pay less. Generally, they pay the award. And there are a few dealers out there that do pay the award as well, which is around about that 40,000 per annum plus super. Plus their commission structure on top of that. So whilst the base might be lower, the overall package may be better. But the problem with that is that initial starting period. And somebody who's jumping ship or moving from somewhere else, that low base, when they first start is the hardest thing to overcome. But that's sort of where we're seeing the market rates. It's a good sort of 50 to 60 is a good sort of base there. Construction equipment, earth moving equipment, lot higher ticket price, and the pay is on a slightly different structure. So you'll see a lot higher retainers in those sales positions. So sort of around that 70, 80 mark. And then their commission structure is usually paid as a percentage of the purchase price rather than the profit. And all these roles, and I haven't seen a sales role for a while that doesn't include a car. So cars are generally a given in these roles, and also phone, laptop, all those sort of tools of trade that a good salesperson would need.
You've already touched on it. Obviously, there's a lot of sales roles across all industries. Everyone, Western society, things need to be sold if you want to do business. In terms of product knowledge and that sort of thing, I know there's a lot of mechanics who've tried to move into sales roles because they needed that technical knowledge.
Yes.
That's been really, really beneficial to them. I think particularly in agriculture that might be beneficial when you're talking to farmers. Knowing what you're talking about is really, really important. How important is that, do you think?
Well, look, I see it in two parts. I think you need to be able to know how to sell and you need to know the product. So I think those two things can vary. Like the level of experience can vary depending on the person. Obviously, if you've got a technician, they're going to maybe not have as much sales experience, although some people are just
born salesmen.
Yeah, exactly.
Born to sell,
if you can find one of those people, those are the ones you want because that's hard to teach, whereas the product knowledge is easy to teach. Give them the brochures, give them the training. There's a lot there that they can learn to be able to pick that up and run with it because once they've got that product knowledge, they're fine. But being able to build rapport, being able to go through the sales process and know exactly what the customer wants and tailor your process to how they respond, that is hard to teach and does come from a lot of years' experience. So you want to make sure that if you are hiring somebody and if you get them from outside the industry, you want somebody that's got that skill because the product knowledge you can learn. But that is a challenge of recruiting or finding staff for sales roles is getting somebody, if you want somebody to hit the ground running without having to do that product training, if you want somebody that's previously sold the same brand or understands the dealership process, then obviously you're looking at somebody from one of your competitors or maybe the same brand interstate. But that really narrows the pool. And we've found people with those, and I guess having a national database, helps because we've got those people who want to relocate and things like that. But it really does, particularly in a regional small area, really narrows down the candidates that you would find for that role.
Yeah.
So that is a real challenge of the position in general, I guess.
Yeah, yeah. And I think that's sort of touching again on something we mentioned in episode 1, which is, you can teach people certain products, but there's a greater skill set behind that works around the products that is much harder to acquire.
Yes.
That it's potentially better to build on that than someone who's maybe sold your equipment in WA in a regional town, but you're in Brisbane in Southeast Queensland and it's a completely different scene.
Yeah, exactly.
Sometimes you need to be a little bit flexible as well, I think. I mean, I know you've had a sales role before where they wanted someone who has sold their specific equipment and they have specific contacts for this equipment in that
area. Yeah.
In that area. So
basically they're employees.
Yeah.
That is tricky. There's got to be some flexibility there because if you've got the blinkers on and you're just looking at that really focused because that's what's worked for you in the past, it's not always like that. There are so many other people out there that you could look at for the role.
Yeah.
That can help. But one of the other challenges is that base salary for the industry. And whilst you're in the industry, you understand how salary and commission works.
Yeah.
But if you're coming from outside of the industry and you take one of those people, you might have somebody that's come from a related industry. I had a truck sales role and I had a candidate who had the best attitude. He was a great candidate. Even to this day, I still think he's a great candidate. Came from a transport role where he was an account manager. So he was selling sort of transport and that sort of stuff. So he knew trucks. He knew
within
everything
the realm,
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But he was on 80K.
Yeah.
So it was a long process on my part and also the employer's part to try and explain how the process works. Okay, you're going to take a step down and you're going to be earning 60K.
Yeah.
But within, say, 6 to 12 months, you'll be back up over that or even higher.
Yeah.
There's certainly more potential than 80K in the role. So that can be hard for people to overcome if they're coming from a different industry.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, that person ultimately left within a short period because they got impatient with waiting for those commissions to come because of that pipeline. And that employer did offer a fixed or prepaid commission for that first sort of 12 months even. But because they hadn't worked in a dealership before, they didn't really understand when the money was going to come.
Yeah.
So making that change was like, I was previously employed and I was earning good money then.
Yeah.
So
it's scary. It can be scary.
Yeah. So that is a challenge of the industry as well is that how the salary package is done, because people from other industrial sort of sales roles could be on bases over 100K. Well, you're not going to, I've never seen a dealership sales role paying over 100K.
Not in a dealership, yeah.
And it can be hard to get those great quality people who have got good sales experience over because of that.
Yeah. You're already touching on it. One more thing I wanted to talk about with that is selling to the same clients that dealerships would have. So say you're an agricultural dealership somewhere in regional WA, you're looking to bring on a sales consultant, you want someone with agricultural experience and they have got agricultural experience but selling real estate to farmers.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
Agricultural real estate, for example.
Yeah, and I had that exact thing come up. I had a candidate who I thought had great sales experience working in rural real estate, so is already dealing with that client's customers and has that experience. So that can be a good option. That those people, whilst they may not have a lot of machinery experience, they've been exposed to it. They know what a harvester is. They know what this tractor does or what that attachment does. So there's so much knowledge there already to build on. They already know the people, which is a huge thing.
They've got the relationships.
They can go out there and say, hey, now I'm working for John Deere or whatever.
Yeah.
Do you want to buy some tractors?
Yeah.
And they'll learn the product.
Yeah.
So that can be another good option as well. So looking out for those related industries can be a good opportunity in being able to find some good people.
Yeah, that's right. And I think, again, I've already touched on it before with sales guys. They're very driven usually. They want to get bang for their buck, and they'll usually keep an eye out for any new opportunities in the area. If I can get a better commission structure or more money selling product X versus product Y, why wouldn't I do that? So sometimes it's good practice, I think, to keep an eye on the job boards and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
And even, a lot of regional areas still use the local paper for advertising, which actually still works really, really well for a lot of people out there.
Yes.
Just keeping an eye out on that to see what your competitors are doing, I think, can be quite beneficial.
Yeah, definitely. And making sure that, you are competitive with them and that you're offering good packages because, the good salespeople are employed.
Yeah.
And they're being well remunerated because they're making sales.
Yeah.
So how are you going to get somebody from another dealership or another business that's already succeeding?
Yeah.
Why are they going to come across to you?
That's right.
Something you got to think about, and being able to put something together that's really going to attract them. And it might not be all money. It might be time off or something like that. It could be anything.
Yeah.
But that's, I guess, all just comes down to communication.
That's right. I think one of those things that's come up for me a couple of times has been training. I had a few guys that I've talked to in the past who've said, look, love the product, love the company, but I'm just not getting trained on all the new stuff. So I'm talking to the farmers and I can't explain it to them, while I'm talking to the transport companies and I just kind of, I can figure it out from reading it through, but it'd be nice to be sent to the OEM's training day for a day.
Yeah, exactly.
It's a day out of, at the end of the day, sales guys are always very time short. They know time is money.
Yes.
But it's a day out of their week that they can make sure they know all the new product and they can properly sell it.
Yeah, exactly. And look, out of these challenges comes opportunities, and we've already touched on some of them. But finding people in this industry can be hard. So you've just got to open your mind.
Yeah.
And maybe
be a little creative.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. And consider some other options. And whilst it's great to have somebody hit the ground running on day one and being able to sell the product, they may not be the best option long term.
Yeah.
And if you invest in somebody for a couple of weeks in training and getting them, up to scratch and knowing the product, they might do so much better than anybody else in the industry because they don't have those those existing bad habits or something that that makes it hard for them to achieve. So, I think there's certainly a lot of opportunities there. In putting those guaranteed commissions in place for people to attract them over from where they're already earning pipeline. The training and also the pathway into other positions. If there's a sales manager or regional manager type role where they can run a couple of salespeople, not everybody wants to sell forever. But also there are people there that do actually want to sell forever. So I guess the key thing is make sure you know what they want. Make sure you know what your salespeople want. Do you want to stay in this role? Do you just want to sell? If you want to sell, that's great. Not every salesperson is a good sales manager, but that is a good pathway for those consultants, and it might be something that they want to look to in the future and go from there.
Yeah, that's right. And if you do just want to sell for the next 10, 15, 20 years, just make a plan and say, all right, well, for the next 2 years we can do this. If you hit that, 2 years later we'll sweeten the deal for you and we'll do that.
Yeah, definitely.
A lot of opportunity there.
Yeah, exactly. So look, that's pretty much all I've got there for sales for this episode. But we thank you for listening, and hope you'll tune in again next week. And we'll talk to you soon.
See you later.
Thank you for listening to another episode of Adding Fuel to the Hire. If you have any questions or you'd like to hear us talk about a particular topic, why not send us an email at podcast@addingfueltothehire.com. If you like what we do and would like to support our podcast, please leave a review on your podcasting app of choice. For further information, please visit our website, addingfueltothehire.com.